Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into something really fascinating today: how the construction industry, which, let's be honest, is one of humanity's least digitalized sectors, is getting a massive rewrite. Think about a typical job site for a second. The real chaos isn't the cranes or the concrete, right? It's the administration. We're talking site managers squinting at unreadable scribbles, safety officers chasing down lost paperwork in the mud, and the back office pulling their hair out juggling 5 completely incompatible apps for payroll and scheduling that simply refuse to talk to each other. It's a mess. So why does modern software actually make this worse? Well, here's the critical flaw with most modern SaaS out there. It doesn't ask how your company works. It literally dictates it. It forces these rigid role structures on your team and just straight up blocks actions if you don't comply perfectly. So instead of adapting to a living, breathing business, the software acts like a dictator. Enter MachinPro. This is a tool built in Ottawa, Canada by Canarians Inc. And what makes their whole story so unique is actually what they don't have. No venture capital funding. No massive marketing team. Instead of acting like a dictator and demanding workflows, MachinPro just provides the building blocks. Instead of blocking actions, it logs them. It might give you a warning, sure, but ultimately, it lets the client decide. That is a total 180 from the typical SaaS playbook. And we really have to talk about the human costs of that typical software rigidity, because on a real job site, it is massive. Imagine a Polish worker who literally cannot understand a mandatory safety form because it's only in English. Or picture a Mexican foreman spending 30 minutes every single night translating his daily logs just so the front office can read them. Right now, the sector lives in this constant state of fragmentation and rigidity. And honestly, both of those things are incredibly expensive. So everything Canarians Inc. does boils down to this one incredibly strict design constraint. MachinPro is the tool. The client configures. This isn't just some marketing fluff to sound good on a landing page. This is their core contract. It drives literally every single product decision they make. MachinPro absolutely refuses to decide how your company should work. You do. To put that into perspective, consider the number 21. MachinPro launched natively with 21 statically and lazy loaded languages. This isn't a gimmick. It means that Polish worker and that Mexican foreman can look at the exact same project on the exact same site, but entirely in their native tongues. The client shouldn't ever have to mandate a company-wide language just to appease a piece of software. The tool adapts. The client does not. And this user-first philosophy heavily dictates their mobile design. They design for the actual physical reality of a job site. You've got dust, you've got noise, impossible deadlines, and workers wearing thick gloves. That's exactly why their buttons are a massive minimum of 44 by 44 pixels. They've got fully functional dark and light modes for those cracked, dirty, sun-glaring screens, and they use what they call passive compliance. If a worker clocks in outside a geofence, the app flags it, but it never blocks them. Because hey, maybe that worker is just dropping off supplies down the street. The tool flags, but the client decides. Okay, but you might be wondering, how on earth do you support all this freedom without causing total chaos on the back end? The secret is in their architecture. Your typical multi-tenant SaaS relies on application-level permissions, which always carries that lingering risk of data leaks. MachinPro, on the other hand, uses database-level row-level security, or RLS. Basically, the isolation happens deep down in the database itself. So if 1,000 companies run on MachinPro, they're effectively running in 1,000 completely parallel, isolated worlds. They share the same engine, but they never, ever cross paths. Now, this structural flexibility is exactly what lets the tool handle international realities natively, right from day one. It automatically adapts to local currencies, time zones, and even regional purchasing power. Because let's face it, a massive commercial builder in Vancouver shouldn't be paying the same price as a local contractor in Guatemala. It just makes sense. And it handles local tax compliances, whether that's Canadian HST, European VAT, or Mexican IVA, without breaking a sweat. And just to prove that you can have this countercultural, non-VC philosophy while still running elite enterprise-grade technology, let's take a quick look under the hood. Their modern tech stack is rock solid. We're talking Next.js 15 as the framework, full TypeScript across the entire codebase, Tailwind CSS version 4 for styling, and Supabase handling that vital PostgreSQL database, auth, and role-level security. Plus, it's all hosted and protected by Vercel, Resend, and Cloudflare. It is highly scalable, secure, and incredibly fast. All of this raw power is organized into 6 highly customizable modules. You have Central for your management dashboard, Operations for things like blueprints and RFIs, Schedule for time tracking, Logistics for physical resources, Safety for hazard logs, and Settings for regional configuration. But here's the real beauty of it. If a company doesn't need a specific feature, they just turn it off. Simple as that. The interface stays completely uncluttered, showing only exactly what they actually use for their workflow. So, building this highly scalable surface allowed the founders to make some really hard, honestly super unconventional product decisions. Decisions that entirely reject the standard Silicon Valley playbook you see everywhere today. Let's dive into some of those. First up, AI. In today's tech landscape, every single SaaS company is boasting about AI, right? Usually just to please investors or play the algorithm game. MachinPro did the exact opposite. They deliberately stripped all AI mentions from their marketing to protect client data and worker privacy. Construction companies inherently distrust it. They don't want their proprietary data training public models, and the guy working on site definitely doesn't want some predictive algorithm mapping and judging his daily physical routine. MachinPro respects that privacy above all else. That anti-hype mindset leads to some other pretty fascinating choices. For instance, you won't find a single competitor comparison on their website. They also use transparent pricing that adjusts by geographic tier. But here is the absolute kicker. They use sacred insert-only audit logs. This is huge. Every critical action is permanently logged and literally cannot be deleted. It provides foolproof, objective evidence designed purely for clients' long-term survival. Think about lawsuits over workplace accidents or surprise tax audits. Those logs are sacred. And this deep respect for the client extends right down to how they handle billing. They offer incredibly transparent plans, like the $39 Essential tier or a $99 all-inclusive plan with unlimited users. That's pricing based on fairness and economic reality, not some aggressive marketing psychology. Plus, they offer a 14-day free trial that doesn't even ask for a credit card up front. Like, who does that anymore? I also want to highlight the sheer genius of their logistics module, specifically for asset tracking. Usually, construction companies pay hundreds or thousands for separate proprietary hardware just to track their tools. With MachinPro, a worker literally just prints blank labels on standard Avery sheets, sticks them onto tools directly at the physical job site, and scans the QR code with their own mobile phone. Boom, instantly registered on the spot, no expensive hardware, no convoluted prep work. It's brilliant. To pull all of this off without a massive corporate team takes unbelievable momentum. Look at their rapid 2026 sprints. In January, the core radical hypothesis was written line by line. By March, their localized pricing 2.0 went live with Stripe tax integration. In April, the private beta launched to their first 20 testers. And by May, they achieved full security audit completion and a massive performance refactor. That is just 5 months from an idea to secure, code-split, production-ready software. But listen, speed does not mean recklessness for these guys. They actually operate on a very rigid two-step manual deployment rule. There are no automated blind updates. The founder actually has to manually type git push origin main. Why? To absolutely guarantee that a blind automated deploy doesn't accidentally break a client's workflow on a random Tuesday morning. All of this leads to a highly unusual declaration for a tech company. MachinPro has absolutely zero interest in being a unicorn. They don't want TechCrunch headlines, and they definitely do not want to go public in 2030. Their ultimate goal is actually much simpler and kind of profound. They just want to be a stable, invisible tool that builders can rely on year after year without ever having to relearn a trendy new interface. So, what does this all mean, and what's next for the tool? Well, construction will always be construction. Software is never going to magically fix the rain, it won't stop the cold, and it definitely can't mend broken budgets on the physical site. But what this tool does is absolutely guarantee that those elements won't translate into administrative chaos back in the office. I want to leave you with this statement that perfectly captures their philosophy. It wants to be invisible when it works and useful always. In a world where literally every app is screaming for your attention and dictating exactly how you must behave, how revolutionary is it to find an anti-dictator piece of software that just quietly does its job and lets you do yours? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.